All right, I'm going live now. But you can certainly share the Zoom link to anyone who wants to participate live.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Let me do that.
All right, I've started live. Okay, I'll send you the message now. Facebook feed that's going on right now. All right, Prabhu, we're live on Facebook. I sent you the link already, so
Okay,
you can share it. Yes, you can share it on your wall and your friends, and anyone who wants to participate live, you can send them the Zoom link, and they'll be in.
That's it. Yeah, I can see the YouTube one, and then there's this is the one.
Yeah,
you sent me on Messenger. All right, cool. Let's copy
so
this.
one thing we can do is once if we start meetings on after say 2 p.m, then we can go live both on Facebook and YouTube, but that has to be done on a PC.
No problem. Yeah, so next time we can do that.
Yeah. Okay, Prabhu, it's all up to you. However you want to start. I can ask the questions, or you can ask the questions, because we're live now.
Okay,
so,
that's good. So let's do. So I was thinking about, obviously, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Pranams, everyone. Right.
Yes, yes.
So you can ask me. Well, I got the questions as well that we can both just share and just see how we can go along.
So you can introduce yourself, Prabhu, and then invite all the people that's watching on your.
Okay, Hare Krishna, everyone. My name is Nityananda Dasa. Please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. So I'm here with Ramachandra Prabhu, devotee in USA. I'm from South Africa, and we just basically here trying to have some sadhu sangha, discussing Prabhupada's mission, the importance of Prabhupada's mission and his legacy of what he left for us, what he left behind for us to actually continue. So basically I was thinking we could just read some Bhagavad Gita.
Yes, Prabhu.
A specific verse from Bhagavad Gita.
Yes,
Bhagavad Gita as it is.
Well, one more thing, anyone who's watching this on YouTube or Facebook, this is being archived. So all of our Zoom sessions will be archived. So anyone who would like to participate live, they can contact me or Nityananda Prabhu, and they can join in the Zoom live, meaning that they can read with us, they can ask questions, anything else. So this is an open forum where anyone can discuss Prabhupada's writings, lectures, conversations. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Yes, Haribol. Yes, it's open forum. We can discuss any subject matter. We do not withdraw or withhold information.
Yes.
We're not ban devotees from asking questions. So any question is welcome. Okay, so basically this is the Bhagavad Gita as it is, the original 1972 edition by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. If anybody didn't see this before, this is it. You'll notice it by the cover and obviously by the pictures inside. I think Ramachandra also gave a video on this once, but let me just give it again, just show you a quick how you can identify that this is the original. Is as soon as you open up the book, the first pictures that you'll actually see is Srila Prabhupada. And then you'll go through and then you'll see the Parampara, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and so on. You'll see all of the lineage until it gets to the next chapters, until it gets to the next pictures of how Srila Prabhupada. These are Prabhupada's pictures that he actually authorized. So for Bhagavad Gita, he specifically chose this. And he was very adamant that no changes be made to his books. So I was just thinking that we could read a verse today. Chapter 13, text number 12. Actually, check text number 8 to 12. And then, yeah, probably when we discuss it, we can just stop at any time and, have any questions or discuss anything
Yes,
from
Prabhu.
here.
Yes. Yes.
So the chapter is entitled Nature, the Enjoyer, and Consciousness. And before we start, we just want to offer our obeisances to the Parampara and Srila Vyasadeva. So we'll just chant Lord Bhagavat Vasudev's pranams. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Om
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
So I'm not going to do this Sanskrit. I'm not a Sanskrit scholar. So I'll just do the translation and the purport by Srila Prabhupada. It's quite a lengthy purport. When I read Bhagavad Gita or any scriptures from Srila Prabhupada, when I especially see there's a long purport, I know that Srila Prabhupada intended for this verse or verses to be very important. Because Prabhupada usually just gives his information very quickly, direct to the point. But when he spends a long time on a specific verse or any subject matter, I know he's very intent of making this point driven into the devotees or basically everybody. They can get the benefit of this highest literature. So yeah, just again, chapter 13, text number 8 to 12, chapter entitled Nature, the Enjoyer, and Consciousness. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, and self-control. Renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the precipitation of the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease, non-attachment to children, wife, home, and the rest, and even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, resorting to solitary places, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization, and philosophy, search for the absolute truth. All these I thus declare to be knowledge, and what is contrary to these in ignorance. So that's the translation from Krishna to Arjuna. He's explaining to Arjuna his nature and his consciousness as the actual, yes.
Amanitvam, adambhitvam, ahimsa, shantir, arjavam. Right? Amanitvam.
100%, yes.
Yeah, it's a long.
It's a long one, yes. 100%.
I used to remember the whole thing. Yeah.
That's very good. The Sanskrit is good.
Yeah. So go ahead, Prabhu. Very nice.
So this is an important verse. Mahendra Prabhu also liked this verse a lot. I heard about that as well. So when I was listening to his lectures, this verse is also very nice because it identifies what is required to actually be a devotee. So Srila Prabhupada, from the beginning of his preaching, or how he's so articulate in his way of delivering the information, the highest knowledge in the most simplest way for everyone to understand, or the most, even for an animal, basically to understand, because we were all animals even before Srila Prabhupada. We didn't even know how to be a human. So Srila Prabhupada taught us how to be a human first and then a devotee, because that's what it takes. You can't just jump from an animal to a devotee. You have to go from an animal to a human consciousness, then to devotee consciousness.
Right.
So this verse is, Prabhupada actually explains, like, this is basically how you become a devotee from a human consciousness. Once you identify that we are not this body, we are a spirit soul, and what our relationship is with Krishna, then we have to identify what is the process of actually getting there. And Prabhupada gave this. So the purport, I'll just stop at each paragraph and then we can just maybe discuss that, because it's a quite lengthy purport. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This process of knowledge is sometimes misunderstood by less intelligent men as being the interaction of the field of activity, but actually this is the real process of knowledge. If one accepts this process, then the possibility of approaching the absolute truth exists. This is not the interaction of the tenfold elements. As described before, this is actually the means to get out of it. Of all the descriptions of the process of knowledge, the most important point is described in the first line of the 10th verse. The process of knowledge terminates in unalloyed devotional service to the Lord. So if one does not approach or is not able to approach the transcendental service of the Lord, then the other 19 items are of no particular value. But if one takes to devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, the other 19 items automatically develop within him. The principle of accepting a spiritual master, as mentioned in the 7th verse, is essential. Even for one who takes to devotional service, it is most important. Transcendental life begins when one accepts a bona fide spiritual master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shri Krishna clearly states here that the process of knowledge is the actual path. Anything speculated beyond this is nonsense. So that's just the first
paragraph.
The first paragraph of like a 4-page purport.
Wow.
From Srila Prabhupada. So yeah, Prabhupada is basically saying to us that he says the first item, basically. You're saying the first. And what is the first? The first line. It's pointed out here. I just want to go through this. Yeah, he says the first line
Yes,
of
please.
the 10th verse.
One by one, let's repeat over and over and over till everyone understands it, and let's have a discussion on it. Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, that's
repetition.
Basically, we have to do it through like a fine-tooth comb just to actually see.
Yes.
That's
there in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It says one must read the Bhagavad Gita very scrutinizingly with the help of a person who is a devotee. So this is how we're supposed to read, not like some kind of novel, like, I read it, understood it.
100%. We have to describe, we have to understand each and every line, basically. I mean, I remember Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, I don't know, I heard this, or I read it somewhere, that he took, I think for one verse, it was like 6 months. One verse was 6 months. And then he said, that's not even done as yet, but that's what we have to move on. Life is short. There's so much nectar. I think it was doing Srimad Bhagavatam, if I wasn't mistaken. But so the first line here in the verse, or the translation, the first thing is humility, then pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance. So in this verse, translation, humility is something that's very important. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also mentions that in the 3rd verse of Shikshastakam, Trinadapi Sunichana, humility, So that's the first line. And from what I understand from this paragraph that we read, is that it says that the principle of accepting a spiritual master is mentioned in the same verse. So the first is to be humble enough to accept a bona fide spiritual master in a way that you're not going to get anything from them, but you're trying to beg for transcendental knowledge, or actually service from them so you can receive transcendental knowledge. So that's what my understanding of this first paragraph is. I can just read it again.
Yes, please.
Okay. So purport: the process of knowledge is sometimes misunderstood by less intelligent men as being the interaction of the field of activity. But actually, this is the real process of knowledge. If one accepts this process, then the possibility of approaching the absolute truth exists. This is not the interaction of the tenfold elements as described before. This is actually the means to get out of it. Of all the descriptions of the process of knowledge, the most important point is described in the first line of the 10th verse. The process of knowledge terminates in unalloyed devotional service to the Lord. So if one does not approach or is not able to approach the transcendental service of the Lord, then the other 19 items are of no particular value. But if one takes to devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, the other 19 items automatically develop within them. The principle of accepting a spiritual master, as mentioned in the 7th verse, is essential. Even for one who takes to devotional service, it is most important. Transcendental life begins when one accepts a bona fide spiritual master. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, clearly states that the process of knowledge. Sorry, let me just read this back. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, clearly states here that the process of knowledge is the actual path. Anything speculated beyond this is nonsense.
Wow.
So yeah, the bona fide spiritual master. It says one's transcendental life. It says transcendental life begins when one accepts a bona fide spiritual master. It only begins. And the only way for you to begin is for one has to be sincere. Actually, sincerity is the qualification, and then has to be humble enough to take the instructions of that spiritual master. But I see that I think many devotees or many people that comes to Krishna consciousness because of what's happening now, through Srila Prabhupada's movement, they don't understand who is bona fide and who is not. And I think that's the most, it's a very sad thing. A lot of, we always speak about that point, but somehow or another it doesn't get through to them. But I guess everybody's on their own path, and Krishna will reveal himself or reveal a bona fide spiritual master when they are sincere enough.
Right. One point is that when we read Srila Prabhupada's book and we accept Srila Prabhupada as our Diksha and Shiksha Guru,
yes,
then we can understand many of these things. If we have if we take these ISKCON gurus, or we call them Kanishta initiators or Ritviks,
yes,
or whatever, take them to be gurus, then our spiritual life many times, most of the time, gets hampered unless we come in association with some devotees who are knowing the position of the Acharya, or they know that the only guru in ISKCON is Srila Prabhupada. He is a Shiksha and Diksha Guru. Many people have,
yes,
I have a Diksha Guru and Prabhupada is a Shiksha Guru. Well,
yes,
you got Prabhupada's books first, right? So who's the
yeah,
Diksha
exactly.
Guru? Who's actually giving you the knowledge?
Yes.
Even that guy who you claim to be a guru, he's getting knowledge from Prabhupada, right?
Exactly.
So-called guru. So
why do we have to choose another person, and then when that person falls down, then we have to run back to Prabhupada like a monkey?
Yeah, right, right. And then many people have 2 or 3 gurus. All of them fell down.
Yeah, I met. So I actually told one devotee this. There's one devotee. They want to go and accept this bogus guru. So I told them, listen, yeah, this is the story. That they're not really bona fide. And this devotee actually, he says, so he's holding on to Prabhupada. He said, no, Prabhupada is my guru. But then I have to first go and see and test. So I said, but then you've been like a monkey, because a monkey holds on to one branch until he grabs onto another branch. And then when he gets older, then he leaves this branch. And when this branch breaks, then he wants to run back to that branch. So I said, that's what's happening. Right. And then you're wasting your time. And his life is very short when you got the knowledge, yeah, and you got everything. So the whole point is that because they use magic, black magic, basically, that's what it is. By doing this, by chanting the holy name, you can get bhukti and mukti, right, automatically, even if you do it in a namabas. Yeah, that is stated there. So, but our goal is to chant without offenses and to actually achieve prema bhakti. That's the highest. And when one actually understands to chant Hare Krishna for the intention of service to the Lord, service to the spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master, because that's the only way you can serve the Lord. That's the only time that you can actually get to the point of trying to touch prema bhakti. And once you attain prema bhakti, bhukti and mukti is automatically, it's present. So liberation and material opulence, that's already there. You don't need anything else. But because of the contamination of these so-called gurus that are chanting the holy name and bewildering the innocent jiva souls, it's like milk touched by the lips of a serpent. It's tasty, but eventually the poison is going to start working and spreading throughout the whole body, and by that time it might just be too late.
Yeah.
So that's the unfortunate situation that we're in. We should actually, I mean, whoever's watching all of this, and if it's the devotees that are sincere to Srila Prabhupada, one day, basically one day, what's going to happen is that ISKCON is going to be overthrown. All these demons that are within ISKCON are going to be overthrown. And it's up to the devotees like the sincere Prabhupada Nugas who are following Srila Prabhupada's instructions and taking his words seriously and practicing spiritual life. It's up to each and every one of us to try and save the devotees, especially the jiva souls, the karmis as well. We're trying to make them into devotees, trying to give them some spiritual knowledge, but especially for our brothers and sisters. I think, our God brothers and our God sisters. Many people used to tell me when I'm preaching that, yeah, why are you worried? Why are you worried about us? Why are you worried about the devotees in ISKCON and why are you worried? Just go and preach out there, out on the street. So I said, yes, I am preaching out on the street. I am preaching out on the street. But just like a person, when they have a family, you have to help your family as well. So because you came to Srila Prabhupada and it's easy ISKCON, I consider them my family. And unfortunately, they just went the wrong way. They just chose the wrong path. Just like how the Kurus chose the wrong path. They chose Krishna's army instead of Krishna. That's what they've chosen. So unfortunately, that's what it is. I see the situation with ISKCON exactly like how Bhagavad Gita is, where it's divided. The two families are divided, basically, the Pandavas and the Kurus. And from my own experience, because I'm preaching here in South Africa, like how the Kurus didn't want to give the Pandavas land. So the Pandavas approached the Kurus and said, please just give us, we are Kshatriyas, we need at least 5 villages. We need to rule. That's our nature. That's our dharma. We have to. And so you can have the whole world, but just please give us 5 villages for us to rule over. And I don't know who's his name? Triasta, the Kurus, they said to the Pandavas, they said, I will not give you enough land for you to stick a pin of a needle in.
Yeah, Duryodhan said that.
Yeah, Duryodhan said, I'll not even give you enough land to stick a pin of a needle in. So then that's when that's when Krishna says, well, now you have to do what you have to do. So enough is enough. The Pandavas said enough is enough. And eventually it's going to come to a point like that. It's 2021. I don't know how long it's going to take, but one day it's going to happen. And it's going to be, the whole of ISKCON is going to understand that all these demons, they've tricked everyone. And the devotees, unfortunately, the rest of our jiva souls, the family that we have, they're going to be, basically in tears. I've seen a lot of devotees that once they find out the actual truth, they get heartbroken. But it's up to us to obviously accommodate them and just try and guide them in the right way. I mean, but yeah, one day it's going to happen, and it's going to be one day soon. Very, very soon. I pray that actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of internal division among the GBC men, the gurus, and this and that. So
yeah.
So we can see that. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Yeah, no, I'm saying a bona fide spiritual master. You see, the problem is I feel that devotees don't read Srila Prabhupada's books, especially the original books. I understand because they have edited the books, so it's difficult for them to actually get the real knowledge. But if one is sincere, the Paramatma, Prabhupada says, and also it's stated in Guru Saran Shastra, if one is sincere enough, that's the only qualification you need. If you're sincere enough, Paramatma will guide you to the real essence. You might be deluded for a couple of years, couple of months, couple of days, but if you're sincere enough and you really want Krishna consciousness, if you really want Bhagavan, you'll get Prabhupada. For me, I only see Prabhupada only, is a pure devotee. There's nobody else I've seen as a pure devotee. I've traveled to India many times. I haven't seen, maybe that's my own default, my senses. But I see Prabhupada as the only pure devotee. And there's no one like Prabhupada. And a lot of devotees say, no, this person is a pure devotee, that guru is a pure devotee. Then I ask them a simple question, which everyone can ask themselves, is that, okay, so you're saying your guru is a pure devotee. Is he like Prabhupada? Exactly like Prabhupada? And then they'll turn around and they'll say, no, but. I said, no, there's no buts. Is he like Prabhupada?
Uh-huh.
Yes or no? Because there's no such thing as one is pure and one is not pure. It's a little, but he's like Prabhupada, but he's not pure enough. Pure means pure. Doesn't matter if it has
Right.
1 grain of contaminant, 1 drop of oil in water can mess up the whole, can contaminate. Like one teaspoon of oil, of
Yeah.
crude oil
Yeah.
in like
Yeah.
a ocean can contaminate the sea.
Right. Yes.
Thousands of miles. So I said, if it's pure, it's pure. If it's not pure, it's not pure. It's as simple as that. And I think this verse here as well talks about simplicity. So obviously it's mentioned here in this verse. So one day that's what's going to happen actually, and I'm looking forward to that. But the preaching must go on, and all the endeavors from every devotee that's doing whatever they can for Srila Prabhupada, trying to spread the holy name and Prabhupada's movement and mission. Humble dandavats to everybody, to all the jivas in the past, the present, and the future. I pray that Srila Prabhupada blesses you immensely, that you can actually understand this knowledge and pass it on to others. It's such a great blessing that everyone has, that actually identifies that Prabhupada is the actual, he's a bona fide spiritual master and the only spiritual master of ISKCON.
Right. Yeah, that is very important. With that being said, we can have temple centers, all across the world just by repeating what Srila Prabhupada has said and discussing. A lot of problems come in the society when people cannot have an open discussion. I'm sure if you talk openly in the ISKCON temple, or if you doubt the unelected GBC and the rubber stamp gurus, they'll kick you out of ISKCON. So
Yes.
And ISKCON is supposed to be a Brahminical institution where we can have a heart-to-heart discussion, straightforward discussion, truthful discussion, historical discussion. So that's why a lot of people are frustrated, because they see duplicity, all these things.
Yes.
Cheating.
Prabhupada, what? Yeah.
No transparency among the guru. Yeah, no transparency among the Lakshmi, how it's being used. I mean, even the GBC has resolutions for sannyasis to give accounting, but none of them submit any accounting, how much money they have, if they have private bank accounts.
Sannyasi not supposed to have any money. Sannyasi not supposed to have any Lakshmi. There's no such thing as a sannyasi who has a money, who has a bank account, who even receives dakshina. You don't even have to take anything. For sannyasi, how sannyasi is supposed to live. You want to take some of sannyasi, you can offer him diksha. You can offer him some diksha. Yeah, here's some food. Yeah, here's some prashadam, mahaprashadam. You can have the prashadam. And in the mentality of a sannyasi is, okay, if you want to take some food, which you want to take some mahaprashadam with you, you can keep it with you, but you don't have any facility to actually keep it. You keep it in your belly pocket. That is your only transport, and you walk on, and you preach,
right.
And you do it, and you do what you have to do. I understand that this is like a modern age where you have to. I mean, it's difficult for you just to do this all over the world, for you to literally walk around and just preach the holy name. So obviously, facility you can use. Prabhupada says that it's allowed, but they're exploiting the facility that's been provided for them on the strength of the holy name, which is an offense. They've actually committed all the offense. The first offense is to disobey the order of the spiritual master. They've committed all of that already. Once they do that, everything else, and their disciples are all going to get whatever. Then the disciples don't understand. So I'll make this clear. So hopefully that whoever watches, whatever rounds you chant, it goes to your spiritual master. Before it goes up to Krishna, it goes to your spiritual master. Some of that goes there. I'm not saying everything, not all of the punya, not all of it, but some of it goes in. I think maybe majority, because you're in surrender, or you're in service to your actual bona fide spiritual master. A disciple supposed to surrender his life to his spiritual master, actually. So even you're chanting, you surrender it to your spiritual master. It says one who actually gives and helps one on the spiritual path. I don't know which verse it is, but it's there in Shastra. One who actually helps one on the spiritual path gets 1/6 of the merit for helping that jiva. So if that jiva ends up in Vrindavan and starts chanting, that person who helped that person go there actually gets 1/6 of the benefit of the merit of whatever is that devotees actually accomplished in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And what to
Wow.
speak of a spiritual master.
Right.
I mean, a disciple accepting a bogus spiritual master instead of a bona fide spiritual master. So yeah, in that way, people, I hope that they understand and they one day wake up, because everything's in Prabhupada's books. If they can just read and then ask questions, the most important thing is for them to ask questions. If they don't ask questions to themselves and they see they're on the same level for many years, for decades, even some of them, not making any spiritual advancement, then what's the point?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just sitting in limbo.
Yeah, I mean, Prabhupada's movement was a progressive movement, meaning that, okay, you have chanted Hare Krishna for 5 years, now you go up on a temple, farm, this and that. So all these missionary activities have come to a stop. And there's no new temples coming up, there's no centers, no farm communities, everything is coming down, They're just trying to maintain the status quo of whatever was established by Srila Prabhupada and whatever else the bogus gurus established, How can the mission
they
go
can't
on
even
like
maintain
this?
it. Yeah, it's very sad. I think that Bhakti Chara Swami, his temple, they asked for funds because when he left, I don't know, then they still got bills to pay. Apparently now they're asking for Lakshmi to maintain the temple.
Right.
I think he's still in the freezer and they're waiting for COVID to end so they can put him in a samadhi.
There's someone named Rocky wants to join. I'll admit them in.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe you know him, Prabhu? Nityananda Prabhu? He or
I'm not
she,
sure.
or
Let's
whoever.
have a look. I just said okay, Hare Krishna. So yeah, so anyway, yeah, so that Swami is still in the freezer, apparently, waiting for his samadhi. But anyway, let's continue to the next verse, or the next paragraph of this verse. Hare Krishna. Never joined Raki. Okay, the next verse. So we read in chapter 13, text number 8 and 12, chapter entitled Nature, the Enjoyer, and the Consciousness. We're in the second paragraph. So Srila Prabhupada saying in his purport here, in the next paragraph, as for the knowledge outlined here, the items may be analyzed as follows. Humility means that one should not be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. The material conception of life makes us very eager to receive honor from others. But from the point of view of a man in perfect knowledge who knows that he is not this body, anything, honor or dishonor, pertaining to this body is useless. One should not be hankering after this material deception. People are very anxious to be famous for their religion, and consequently, sometimes it is found that without understanding the principles of religion, one enters into some group which is not actually following religious principles, and then wants to advertise himself as a religious mentor. As for actual advancement in spiritual science, one should have to test to see how far he is progressing. He can judge by these items. So yes, we were just discussing this. At Srila Prabhupada, the one has to find a bona fide spiritual master. That's what we were discussing. And now it's, Prabhupada is saying here in this purport that generally what tends to happen is after one becomes a devotee, name, fame, woman, and wealth actually take over sometimes. Devotees get carried away by that. So this basically means, let me just read this verse again. Because Prabhupada says that one who gets honor, one who gets honor shouldn't be affected by this. But we see a lot of people that are actually getting affected by it due to name, fame within spiritual life. And that's actually very sad. Prabhupada says that an intelligent man, whether honor or dishonor comes to him, he has no concern for it because he understands that he's not this material body, and at the time of death, this will all end. So I'll just read this paragraph again. As for the knowledge outlined here, the items may be analyzed as follows. Humility means that one should be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. Oh, sorry. Humility means that one should not be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. The material conception of life makes us very eager to receive honor from others. But from the point of view of a man in perfect knowledge who knows that he is not this body, anything, honor or dishonor pertaining to this body is useless. One should not be hankering after this material deception. People are very anxious to be famous for their religion. And consequently, sometimes it is found that without understanding the principles of religion, one enters into some group which is not actually following religious principles and then wants to advertise himself as a religious mentor. As for actual advancement in spiritual science, one should have a test to see how far he is progressing. He can judge by these items. So that's what we see
Right.
nowadays. It's actually happening. ISKCON, not even in all. Basically, what happens is once somebody tries to become spiritual, they get sucked off into one of these groups. They can go into Mayavadi, Sahaji, or wherever, but they normally get sucked off into one of these groups out of false identification because they're still in the body concept of life and they get satisfaction from being honored. So therefore they default and they actually go away from Krishna consciousness, but still act like a devotee. Like these religious mentors, Prabhupada even says it. Prabhupada says this in Bhagavad Gita. You know, Prabhupada knew that there's going to be these religious mentors that are coming, this line here, this line here, which is not actually following religious principles and then wants to advertise himself as a religious mentor. Bhagavad Gita. How perfect it is. So you see this, these, I don't even know what to call them because they're so degraded. I mean, you're not even Shuddha devotees, just like Prakrita Bhakta devotees, not even a Bhakta doesn't even suit. I mean, you know, suit these devotees any names like this Gaur Gopal, all these other people that are mentors. They give motivations and people fall for that. You know, so that's basically what's happening. What a sincere devotee will never ever get caught up in this trap.
Yeah, this Gaur Gopal and this Radhanath Swami and this other Jay Shetty and stuff like that, they are
Yeah.
just, they're cheating people, basically, you know. That's what they're doing. They're not reading from Prabhupada's books. They're not having discussions. You know, people take them as some kind of great guru or authority, but what can they give? They cannot give anything. I mean, people already know how to make money, you know.
Yes.
That's what people are going for, money. Or I mean, especially in America nowadays, you know, with the currency thing, the Bitcoin and this printing of money, everyone has money, you know, but no one's happy.
Mm.
You'll never be happy by going to people like Gaur Gopal or Jay Shetty or
Yes.
Radhanath. You'll never be happy because they're putting you more and more in the bodily conception of life. You know, you're this body, you must train your body, yoga, this, that, you know.
Mm.
It's just
It's
totally against
it is a
Prabhupada's
problem.
teachings.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
The
huge
first
problem.
instruction. Yeah. The first instruction that Prabhupada, actually not the first instruction. It is the first instruction, but it is a continuous instruction. Prabhupada was so expert. He was so expert in every single lecture. I think like 99% of it. I think maybe 100% if I'm not mistaken. Every lecture of Prabhupada, he pressed on this point, you're not the body. Every
Yeah.
single lecture. There's not a lecture I've heard where Prabhupada doesn't say that. And that's the first, and that's the inception, and that's the beginning of spiritual life. That's the beginning of spiritual life. Once you identify, the main questions that a devotee or a person should be asking themselves is these three questions, basically. So when I preach, I normally ask, I normally speak and I ask people about this. Three questions is very important. First question, who am I? Because you're here in this world, who am I? And then second question, who is God? Once you find out who am I, then you find out who is God, and then you ask yourself the third question: what is my relationship with God? Prabhupada always put that. Who am I? I'm the spirit soul. I'm part and parcel of Krishna. You find that I'm part of something bigger, something divine. And then you ask yourself, what is, so I identify there's a higher being. And Prabhupada pushed on this point, and what's your relationship with this divine being, Krishna? You know, and then you identify, and then you have to obviously follow the process and follow the breadcrumbs that lead you to you know, your spiritual home. You know, back home, back to Godhead. That's what Prabhupada says. A lot of devotees asked, well, I had a few questions that devotees asked actually, and they want to know, I'll just ask you this question because I had some questions that people asked. They want to know, is there any other Diksha Guru? Well, let me just read this question. I had some messages before. I want to just read this to you. Let's just see if I can get you. Some devotees send me a messages sometimes. I never get back to them as yet, but maybe you can just answer that through here. So they said, do you believe that there is any other Diksha Guru after Prabhupada?
First of all, what is the qualification of the Diksha Guru according to Prabhupada's books? What is the qualification of the Diksha Guru?
Yes, that's the thing. So my answer to them was, well, I gave them the answer, but they didn't accept it. So let me just tell you what I actually gave them, right? So this person asked, because I gave him the whole story here. What's this here?
Maybe you can say his name or something.
Yeah, I will share it. So this person, okay, well, apparently, so I was speaking to this one devotee, and then I don't know if you know this person, they're devotees, but they have an association with Rupanuga Prabhu. I don't know who he is. Apparently he's a Srila Prabhupada disciple, that's what they say. So I was speaking to this devotee, and then this devotee was passing on the message to this Rupanuga Prabhu, who is apparently a Srila Prabhupada's disciple, which I haven't got a chance to speak to him as yet. And they asked me a question. Well, I told them about, you know, there is no other gurus besides Srila Prabhupada. Then they gave me this other conversation between Prabhupada and Tamal Krishna, that where Prabhupada says, on my order, you become guru. So then I said, so Prabhupada said, on my order, but when did he give the order?
Right.
He never gave the order. He says, on my order. And he says, but by my order. So when did he give it? And they say to me that is his order. By him saying on my order means that I said, no, that's you must interpret in the whole situation. Then I gave him the 9th July letter from Prabhupada. It says that only 11 Ridvik Acharyas allowed to give initiation on their behalf, on Srila Prabhupada's behalf, but they all disobeyed the order of the spiritual master. So it's all meaningless now. Yeah. So that's not actual in effect. Then they asked, do I believe? They asked me this question. Do you believe that someone can become Prabhupada's Diksha disciple now? So I said to them, I wrote the small note. I said, this is what I believe. Guru Sada and Shastra confirm the qualities and characteristics of a bona fide spiritual master. If one has those qualities and characteristics according to Guru Sada and Shastra, then one is fit to take on disciples within the Guru Parampara. But who is qualified? Yeah. Then I listed then I listed that 11 Dikshas, Ridviks.
Right.
You know, so I mean, the people are not qualified, but they just want to give the actual initiation. Initiation is not a cheap thing. In any Sampradaya, you know, Krishna conscious, we are Vaishnavas. You know, in any Sampradaya, when you're taking on a spiritual practice or you're taking on initiation is not a game. It's basically because you're doing a yagya, you're playing with fire. If you're doing yagyas and you're playing around with fire, you're literally playing around with fire, you are going to get burnt. And if you don't know how to actually utilize, you're like a child. People have minds of a child. They just want to run for name and fame. That's what you're saying in this chapter that we were reading now. It is specifically saying that the material conception of life makes us very eager to receive honor from others. But from the point of view of a man in perfect knowledge who knows that he is not this body, anything honor or dishonor pertaining to this body is useless.
Right.
So Prabhupada, the point is that we have to identify individually. Nobody can identify for us. There's so much we can say. Don't go to this guru, don't go to that person, don't do this, don't put your hand in fire. But if you
Right.
want to, you have to learn. And Prabhupada gives examples. There's 3 types of people that learn. There's 3 ways of learning, basically. There's an easy way. There's a first, the most intelligent person. You tell the person, don't put your hand in fire. They listen and they have that knowledge within them and they don't put their hand in the fire the whole life. Then the second intelligent person or the less intelligent person, you tell them, don't put your hand in fire. Don't go to the Bogus School. Whatever. Don't put your hand in fire. They go, put their hand in fire. They don't believe you. Put your hand in fire. They get burnt. And for the rest of their life, they say, sorry, Promo. I realize now I'm not going to put my hand in fire. And the least intelligent person, tell them, don't put your hand in the fire. They go put their hand in the fire. They get burnt. They come back. You tell them, don't put their hand in fire. They go back over and over again, put their hand in fire, keep on getting burnt and wondering why. So this is what happens within the devotees. Right. It's typically like them taking initiation over and over again.
Yeah.
You know, from these fallen people.
Right.
I don't know if you want to share anything on that, Prabhu.
Yes. Maybe can you go prabhupadaBooks.com and go to Nectar of Instruction? This talking about the Uttamadhikari, who can be a guru, verse 5, the last paragraph. Nectar of Instruction, verse 5, the last paragraph.
Which website? prabhupadbooks.com, right? Okay.
Yeah, prabhupadbooks.com, the Nectar of Instruction, then verse 5, last paragraph.
Okay.
So we have a guest in our Zoom meeting, Rekha, or please, if you want to introduce yourself, you can join the audio and say who you are, where you're from, how maybe you can share how you came in contact with Srila Prabhupada's books or ISKCON or whatever. So this is a personal meeting. All the devotees that are joining, they know each other for some years now. They've been preaching Krishna consciousness and doing Sankirtan, distributing books. So this is an open forum where people can come on, share their experiences, share their doubts, get clarification, because it's up to the next generation to move the movement. These false gurus, they're finished, most of them are.
Yeah.
Kamal is dead, Satsarup is nearly dead, Jay Pataka is just a vegetable. So.
Yeah, all of these people are on the way out. Nectar of Instruction, Prabhu?
Yeah, Nectar of Instruction, verse 5, okay, last paragraph.
Verse 5. Yeah. All right, awesome.
Yeah.
Is that what you've been reading recently?
Yeah.
That's
we're
very
discussing
good.
On this one. Yeah, the last paragraph where Rupa Goswami is saying, who can initiate?
I'm just logging on. All right. Fifth
verse, last paragraph of the verse.
Okay.
Scroll down.
Just trying to find it here.
Yes.
Let's see if I can do. If I can change it around like that, you can see. Text 1.
Verse 5. Yeah, go all the way down to verse 5.
Text 8. Sorry. Here we go.
Okay, there you go. Read the last paragraph. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Last paragraph. In this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami advises the devotee to be intelligent enough to distinguish between the Kanistha Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. The devotee should also know by his own position.
Also know his own
and should
position.
Not try, and should not try to imitate a devotee situated on a higher platform. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given some practical hints to the effect that an Uttama Adhikari Vaishnava can be recognized by his ability to convert many fallen souls to Vaishnavism. One should not become a spiritual master unless he has attained the platform of Uttama Adhikari. See? A neophyte Vaishnava or Vaishnava situated on the intermediate platform can also accept disciples, but such disciples must be on the same platform, and it should be understood that they cannot advance very well toward the ultimate goal of life under his insignificant guidance. Therefore, a
Insufficient.
disciple should be, sorry,
Insufficient.
insufficient guidance.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry, let me read that. And it should be understood that they cannot advance very well toward the ultimate goal of life under the insufficient guidance.
Yes.
Therefore, a disciple should be careful to accept an Uttamarikari as spiritual master, as a spiritual master. Wow.
Yeah.
That's very nice. That is next
So there you
level.
go.
So that's what it is about. So people say, yeah, well, I got a spiritual master. He might not be like Prabhupada.
Well,
but
okay.
then it says here that, you have to get an Uttamarikari devotee. Then they want to ask about why don't you take initiation from Lord Brahma and all this other. Then they want to go down down that path. And I'll make it clear now that like Prabhupada gave us to chant 16 rounds. So I'm chanting 16. I'm following the orders of Srila Prabhupada because I can only be qualified enough to follow Srila Prabhupada's instructions. Srila Prabhupada changed the minimum number of rounds from 64 rounds to 16 rounds because we were incapable of even doing that. Incapable
Right.
of sitting in the whole day. Srila Prabhupada gave us, Srila Prabhupada says, all you have to do is come here to my temple, come, chant Hare Krishna, you'll get prasadam, you'll get everything. Stay and you chant Hare Krishna all the whole day. But we can't even do that. So therefore, Prabhupada incepted and inaugurated all his other devotional service activities for us to do to keep us busy, because he was training his brain just to find ways for us to be in devotional service long enough so we can chant Hare Krishna. Because devotees don't want to chant Hare Krishna all the time. They get, they want to do other stuff. Their minds are very fickle. So Prabhupada says from 64 rounds, you can chant 16 rounds. He changed it. He can change things according to time, place, and circumstance, because he's an Uttamarikari. He's a pure Vaishnav. He is in line with the Vaishnava Acharya saints in the Gaudiya Vaishnav, in our Gaudiya Sampradaya. He has the ability to do it. Nobody else. I think in some other mat, there's one Saraswati market. I don't know. I'm just bringing out all of this. What Saraswati mat? They do 4 rounds or something like that. Apparently.
Yeah.
That's there. So it's also part of a branch. I mean, there's many branches on the tree of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It just depends on how quick you want to go back home, back to Godhead. If you want to go back in this lifetime, then you have to follow the process. If not, take birth again and again and waste this human form of life. How many times are you going to be born? And we know who knows what life you're going to get. Who knows what body you're going to get in the next life. As a Prabhupada stressed a lot. Prabhupada stressed, we don't know what body we're going to get. So give this one life and try to chant Hare Krishna as much as possible and just go home. But like when you come to the point of being a surrendered disciple, in my case, or in my understanding, in my case, when you come to a point of being a surrendered disciple to Srila Prabhupada and your spiritual master, because I owe him my life, I owe him so much, my personal point of view, I realize that I'm not going back home, back to Godhead. Even though I'm chanting and I'm doing all this seva, because what am I going to do in Goloka Vrindavan when Srila Prabhupada is in hell preaching and serving? My duty as a disciple is to follow my spiritual master for life, forever. So I've realized the only time I'll go back to Goloka is when Srila Prabhupada goes back. And Srila Prabhupada is such, Srila Prabhupada, I don't think he's going to go back, because he's such a great personality and preacher. That's why Krishna sent him here, So that's what I've realized, it's basically it's eternity until Srila Prabhupada decides. Because even if you go back home, back to Godhead, to Goloka Vrindavan, how are you going to know who's Krishna? Because everybody can lie to you as well. But I'm not saying people in their life. But when your spiritual master says, this is Krishna, you believe him. Because you believe. Srila Prabhupada says, this is Bhagavan. Then you will believe that this is Bhagavan. So only through the order of your spiritual master, the guidance of your spiritual master, can one understand who is Krishna. Even if one goes back home, back to Godhead, your spiritual master needs to be there to identify, to show you this is Bhagavan.
Right.
Yeah, we can go on to the next. I don't know if it's still fine, Prabhu. We can still go on to this a little
Yeah,
bit more. Yeah, or
let's
you
do
wanna
it.
leave. Okay,
Let's
cool.
go for another 30
Let's
minutes or
finish.
something.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes, let's do that. All right. I'll do another 2 more chapters, and then we can leave the rest. Because 2 more
Yeah,
chapters.
we
We're gonna
can
have to
come
do
back.
like 4 pages. We can come back and we can finish this off. So the next 2 chapters. Okay, so the next chapter, or 3 chapters. Sorry, we'll do another 3 chapters, small ones here, before we go on. So the next one is by Srila Prabhupada. Non-violence is generally taken to mean not killing or destroying the body, but actually non-violence means not to put others into distress. People in general are trapped by ignorance in the material concept of life, and they perpetually suffer material pains. So unless one elevates people to spiritual knowledge, one is practicing violence. So one should try his best to distribute real knowledge to the people so that they may become enlightened and leave this material entanglement. That is non-violence. So that's very, very instructive. So Prabhupada is so amazing. I mean, like, look at this. He says that non-violence is generally taken to mean not killing or destroying the body. But actually, non-violence means not to put others into distress. People in general are trapped by ignorance in the material conception of life, in the concept of life, and they perpetually suffer material pains. So unless one elevates people to spiritual knowledge, one is one is practicing violence. Yeah, probably, non-violence, that chapter down in the bottom. Here we go. Yeah. So just read it one more time. Do you want to perhaps read it, Prabhu?
No, go ahead, Prabhu. I'm at work, so.
Okay, cool. Okay, no problem. So yeah, I'll just read it again one more time. Non-violence is generally taken to mean not killing or destroying the body, but actually non-violence means not to put others into distress. People in general are trapped by ignorance in this material concept of life, and they perpetually suffer material pains. So unless one elevates people to spiritual knowledge, one is practicing violence. One should try his best to distribute real knowledge to the people, so that they may become enlightened and leave this material entanglement. That is non-violence. We'll go down to the next. So basically, for somebody that has the knowledge of Guru Sadhana and Shastra, and one that has understanding that one should be preaching and performing the Yuga Dharma, Harinam Sankirtan, or book distribution and Krishna Prasadam distribution, and if one has the knowledge and one is not doing that, one is committing violence by just not doing it. One is committing violence. So the only way for you to commit non-violence is for you to actually perform the Yuga Dharma and follow the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master. Otherwise, you're part of the problems. Yeah.
Yes. That's why the scriptures say one should not become a father, mother, this, that, unless one can deliver that living entity. So that's violence. You have children and you cannot deliver them, or attempt to deliver them, or give them the facility for them to be delivered. You got to try all your best to see that they get the spiritual knowledge. If you don't, then you're committing violence because you don't know the goal of life.
Yes, the goal of life is basically to help all other living. Help yourself first, free yourself, and then help free others.
Right. Yes.
Okay, let's move to the next chapter.
Tolerance?
Yeah, tolerance means that one should be practiced to bear insult and dishonor from others. If one is engaged in the advancement of spiritual knowledge, there will be so many insults and much dishonor from others. This is expected because material nature is so constituted. Even a boy like Prahlada, who only 5 years old was engaged in the cultivation of spiritual knowledge, was endangered when his father became, what's the word? Antagonistic in his devotion. The father tried to kill him in so many ways, but Prahlada tolerated him. So for making advancement in spiritual knowledge, there may be many impediments. but we should be tolerant and continue our progress with determination. So Prabhupada always spoke about it. He says a good leader is always enthusiastic and always determined. You know,
Right.
so for us, I mean, basically what we're doing now, I mean, for the devotees that are out there that's also preaching for Srila Prabhupada and the Prabhupada Anugas, like, you know, to understand the truth and not being a part of ISKCON's nonsense. By tolerating these demons is actually a good quality. Because I mean, you get so agitated that, you know, that you just want to end it. You just want to end the whole situation with them. But because we are not, it's not authorized for us to do that in this age of Kali Yuga. So Mahaprabhu came and says that I mean, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, he stopped Mahaprabhu from killing Jaga and Madai. So he says the way you kill them now is just by your mercy, by the holy name. So by tolerating these, the people that are actually taking jivas, the souls away from them, from Krishna and from Prabhupada, it's actually a good quality, but at the same time, one has to also preach. Otherwise, one commits violence.
Let's see.
Okay, I'll do this last verse here probably. This, or last chapter, sorry, in this verse.
In simplicity?
Yeah. So this
Okay,
is
yeah,
a
go
very
ahead.
important, this is a very good one. This is a very important chapter. I like this chapter a lot as well. So simplicity means that without diplomacy, one should be so straightforward that he can disclose the real truth even to an enemy. As for acceptance of the spiritual master, that is essential, because without the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master, one cannot progress in the spiritual science. One should approach the spiritual master with all humility and offer him all services so that he will be pleased to bestow his blessings upon the disciple. Because a bona fide spiritual master is a representative of Krishna, if he bestows any blessings upon the disciple, that will make the disciple immediately advanced without the disciples following the regulative principles.
Wow, that's it.
Yeah. Or the regulative principles will be easier for one who has served the spiritual master without reservation.
Wow.
And let's read that one again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you find new things every time. You can read the same page tomorrow, the same verse tomorrow, and we'll find some new nectar. Simplicity means that without diplomacy, one should be so straightforward that he can disclose the real truth even to an enemy. As for acceptance of the spiritual master, that is essential, because without the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master, one cannot progress in the spiritual science. One should approach the spiritual master with all humility and offer him all services so that he will be pleased to bestow the blessings upon the disciple. Because a bona fide spiritual master is a representative of Krishna, if he bestows any blessings upon his disciples, that will make the disciple immediately advanced without the disciples following the regulative principles. The regulated principles. Or the regulated principles will be easier for one who has served the spiritual master without reservation. So it's so simple. Once you surrender to a bona fide spiritual master, you have nothing to worry about. Basically, it's not to say that you mustn't follow the regulative principles. That's highly advised, because we can't do it. We need all the help that we can get. But once you surrender to a bona fide spiritual master, your advancement in Krishna consciousness takes over, takes flight. Rapid advancement. And the bona fide spiritual master in this regard is Srila Prabhupada.
Right.
He's the only bona fide spiritual master according to Guru Parampara, according to Guru Sara and Shastra. You can test Srila Prabhupada is perfect. He's the most perfect human being that ever existed, that we can actually see and get to know about and even hear. That's basically it. And it says here, the first line, the first sentence, simplicity. To be so simple enough, one should have these qualities. These are all qualities of devas. These are all qualities, high qualities that a Vaishnava should have. To be so simple that one can reveal the truth to even one's own enemy without hesitation.
Right. Wow. Yeah.
That's the most important thing. I mean, if you can do that, you know, because you have no fear, because you're not this body. You know what they can. I mean, it reminds me of the pastime with Prahlad Maharaj and Hiranyakashipu. You know, you know why Hiranyakashipu. You know why the demigods didn't kill Hiranyakashipu instead of kidnapping Shri Prahlad's mother while he was in the womb.
Oh yes, that yes. Narada Muni said that,
Yes.
oh, there's a great saint in the
Yes.
womb, and you, even if you
Yes.
try to kill him, you won't be able to kill him, or something like that.
Yeah. Yes. Now there's another. The reason why now. So what happened is that the demigods. So Shri Prahlad. I mean, so Hiranyakashipu. Right. He's just talking about being so simple and, you know, being determined that one must speak the truth. But this is about determination. One must be so determined. I think that was in the last verse. Speak about determination. The reason why that the demigods didn't go and kill Hiranyakashipu while he was doing his meditation, because they went to his kingdom and they ransacked the whole place, and then they kidnapped Shri Prahlad's mother with him in the womb, instead of going and killing him, because he made a vow, Hiranyakashipu made a vow that even lifetime after lifetime, birth after birth, you can kill me now, you can kill this body, but life after lifetime, I'm going to come back and I'm going to do the same thing. So they understood that that the soul is eternal. And even if he does get a new body, he's going to do the same thing, because his vow was so strong that he says, I want to get the powers to obviously to destroy Vishnu. But so his determination on that fact made the demigods understand that even if they kill him, there's no point. So that's why they went to his kingdom and destroyed everything, and obviously kidnapped Shri Prahlad's mother with him in the womb. And obviously Narada Muni came on the scene. But the point is that the determination that Hiranyakashipu had was that no matter what, this is fixed. And like that, you know, we can look at, I mean, even like, you know, demigods, in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's very, very intricate. If you study it very carefully, there's good qualities in everyone. That Vaishnava must look at the good qualities in all as well, instead of just the you know, the surface, the basic instructions or the basic lila that's on the surface. But with determination, even if they kill a Vaishnava, even if they kill a devotee, because of his determination to serve his spiritual master and to preach Krishna consciousness, it doesn't really matter, because the Vaishnava or the devotee will just take birth again and continue doing the same thing birth after birth. So to be simple, to be simple in that way, where you can disclose the truth to even an enemy without regard, without reservation, you know, for anything else, without worrying about anything else, as long as I'm pleasing my spiritual master or preaching the truth according to Guru Sadhu and Shastra.
Right.
Yeah, you want to add anything there, Prabhu? Sorry, I was just going on about
It's okay, Prabhu. Yeah, so no problem. So should we continue or should we stop for tonight? I mean, for today?
Yeah, we can stop, and then we can come back maybe when you have another session with other devotees as well, and then we can all discuss this together. It'll be very nice to continue and have everybody else's perception. The whole point is that a lot of devotees come together and they give their different point of views. Every viewpoint is, from a devotee standpoint, is correct, but it's from a different angle, and it makes you see things in a different light, which is actually beautiful. That's Sadhu Sangha. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I appreciate your association.
So when should we next have another meeting with you? When?
Well, tomorrow, yeah, tomorrow or next week.
Or next week? Okay.
Yeah, tomorrow or next week, Sunday.
So let's make a schedule
tomorrow.
online, and
Yeah.
then we can post it.
You
Be
can-
like, hey,
Yeah.
in this way that
What we
people
can-
can join us regularly.
Yeah, what we can do is maybe we can make a group on Messenger, on Facebook Messenger, and
Yes,
just all of
yes.
the devotees that normally come onto or like to join this discussions, the Sadhu Sangha, we can just add them to the group, and then when we make the link, we can just send it to that one group, and then everybody, whoever sees that group and the link, they can just join from there.
Yes, that sounds better, Prabhu. So let's do that.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
All right,
All
Prabhu.
glories to
Hare
Srila
Krishna.
Prabhupada. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.